It has, of course, been the result of a huge collaboration between many people, many different organisations, many different ethnic groups, of course, who agreed to very kindly come here. And despite the awful history of Great Britain in particular, but European treatment of indigenous people, the generosity of our visitors to come here and still, despite or in spite of it all, come here to share some of the wisdom that they managed to maintain despite the huge pressures that my own society has been imposing upon them and their lands. And it really is very humbling, and I want to start by thanking sincerely all the visitors who have come here to share with us. And of course, us, we are the little brothers, in fact. We haven't really understood how to engage with the world properly, how to be in nature in a way that respects the principles of life. We are currently very anti-life, and our lifestyles are anti-life. And the results, of course, we're seeing all around us in the changing weather patterns, the speed with which the heating of our dear planet is occurring, and all the problems that poses for us and our companion species, all those other wonderful life forms on which we depend for a healthy and happy existence. Are also suffering in trying to adapt to the speed of this change. So our opportunity in the next few days is to sit and respectfully listen to the stories, the wisdom that our visitors wish to share with us. And I really haven't asked people to speak about anything in particular. They've been invited to come and say what they feel we need to know. And I invite you all to take this very seriously. Clearly, people like me, researchers working in universities, we are not up to the task. We have not been able to sufficiently influence and affect the mainstream organisations that manage the legal and directions of the so-called developed world with the sort of efficiency and power that is necessary for the times we face. So we thought that the Flourishing Diversity Summit would be an opportunity for some of the very different ways that people around the world who still maintain their connection with the other species on which we share this beautiful planet, to help us to reorientate ourselves back towards that core practice of life, of being supportive, of encouraging, of making space for diversity of life that lives on this planet, on which we all co-depend to flourish. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later, but first of all, I'd like to welcome our Ashaninka friends, who were in many ways the spark which set off this series. When I went to visit them and I saw the beauty of the forest that they've regenerated on the barren land which capitalist markets had left them, it was so inspiring that when we came back and I talked to other people about it, they said, we need to understand more about this. And so it's with great pleasure that I invite my Ashaninka friends, Benki and Moisés Piyãko, and Okosho, please to come down, and they will lead us in an opening ceremony so that the conference begins with a proper indigenous energy rather than the Western academic energy that we are currently surrounded by. Let me leave you with our dear Secretary.
maweni. Buenos días. Nós agora vamos cantar um pouco. Esta flauta é uma apresentação de nós. E agora vamos cantar uma música espiritual para que nós possamos alcançar os objetivos de estarmos acá juntos. Limpiar nuestra mente y abrir nuestro corazón para abrazar a los hermanos.
Where the Industrial Revolution was begun. And much of the consequences of what we're experiencing today in this crisis, ecological crisis that we find ourselves, is very closely linked to that process. And so I hope with that beautiful song that we've just heard, and of course the Gaia Spirit movement that we did on Saturday, that we are able to now spark another process, something which will, rather than consume, devour, and rapaciously
seek to control other people's lands and resources, we'll start to seek to heal our relationship with this dear planet that we depend upon. This conference is the outcome of a conference we did about 5 years ago as part of the Center for the Anthropology of Sustainability in the Department of Anthropology at UCL. And there we invited leading anthropologists to come and talk to us about what it means to ensure a sustainable, inhabitable world for future generations. And what became very apparent was the corruption of the various ideas and approaches that dominate the Western world's efforts to ensure an inhabitable world. They are insufficient, they are inadequate, they pander too much to the interests of the powerful and too little to the interests of our Earth system. And what was very interesting was that Arturo Escobar, who has been working for many years to champion the importance of listening to indigenous people, to black activists, to people on the margins of the mainstream, because in fact they have the most innovative, the most interesting, the most relevant cosmovisions that will help us to shift this Western cosmovision, which is obsessed with hoarding, with accumulation, with recognizing and judging status through your ability to attract wealth, and shift into something else. And what we hope the Flourishing Diversity Series will do is help us to shift into a more joyful orientated or joy-orientated existence. Watching life flourish brings joy. And it's something we're all hardwired to do. Every human being on this planet loves to watch children grow, loves to watch plants and animals flourish. And this is the sentiment that Flourishing Diversity wants to tap into, wants to encourage you all to give space to make space for, and to use to influence whatever spaces you dwell in so that they become spaces of flourishing diversity. And the visitors that we have here, who very kindly come here to talk to us, are all people who understand how to make diversity flourish. And this is what we hope very much to be inspired by as we listen to their very different ways of doing this. Because of course there's no single way of doing this. There must be a diversity of ways. And while we're not advocating that people become Ashaninka or Apiwtxa or any other type of people, we are hoping very much that you will be able to take on board the insights that such people provide you, so that within your own space, within your own cultural background, within your own historical situation, you too can become a flourisher. Today, we are focusing on land, because of course land is that part of this Earth system that we spend most of our time on. And land is sacred because we need land in order to sustain ourselves. We need land in order for our societies to flourish. We need land in order for not just us human beings to flourish, but all those other species upon which we depend. You might be thinking I'm a human being standing here, but actually I have more bacterial cells than I have cells I inherited from my parents. And I have even more viruses, benign viruses inside my body than I do bacterial or human cells. So what am I? Am I really just a human being? No. I'm a multi-organism, and all of you are multi-organisms. And we are nested within environments, just as my bacteria in my stomach are nested in the environment of my stomach, and my stomach is nested in the cultural environment in which I surround myself. And that cultural environment, of course, is nested in this Earth system, and that Earth system is in interaction with all sorts of other nested environments. And if we start to really appreciate this, that we are all multi-organisms nested one within the other, then surely we can start to take care of those other systems, those other ecosystems upon which we depend and on who depend upon us. The situation around the world is very distressing on many levels currently. What we want with Flourishing Diversity is to bring hope and to bring a clear pathway where each of us can start to become part of the solution and stop being part of the problem. And we hope very much that by the end of these 3 days, all of you who've shared these sessions with us will come with renewed hope for ways that you can become part of the solution and join this flourishing that needs to start happening on a grand scale. Millions of people need to do so. But of course, governments around the world are not always supportive of this, and in particular we seem to be in this moment where the worst is in evidence in this country, in America, and particularly of concern to us today in Brazil. So I'd like to invite Carolina to come and talk briefly about why today, particularly this morning, we want to focus on Brazil and the importance of the Amazon basin, of course, for all our well-being. Thank you, Carolina.